All right, welcome to the Jim Acosta Show, and this is a special election alert. Next week, Tuesday, December 2nd, there is a special election for an open congressional seat in Tennessee. Normally, the Democratic candidate would not have much of a chance there, but State Representative Aftyn Behn has been drawing a lot of attention from the Republican Party. The GOP and their PAC buddies, they have been dumping millions of dollars into this race to stop Behn, and she joins me now. Representative Behn, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you make of all this attention that you're getting? Because as I was saying, typically, the Democrats, you'd say, well, good luck, good luck with that. There are a couple of districts here and there, I guess Steve Cohen, that sort of thing, they do okay and they can win those districts. But your district in particular has been redrawn a bit, where it does give Democrats a hope, and especially with the wind at the backs of Democrats right now, as we saw earlier this month.
Yeah, so for your listeners, Nashville was a consolidated Democratic district, and then after redistricting, the Republican supermajority cut it up into 3 Republican districts. And they included some of the highest voter turnout precincts in Davidson County, which is Nashville, historically blue. And they pulled in the purple bellwether county of Montgomery County, which includes Clarksville. It also includes pieces of Williamson County, which there are concentrations of Democrats there as well. So it is, as the Cook Political Report said, the perfect storm. On the heels of Democratic candidates winning earlier this month on a message of affordability, it's the same message that I've been touting across the district. We have, the Republican Washington agenda has been incredibly unpopular. And as I've said throughout this campaign, if you are upset with the cost of living and the chaos of Washington, then I'm your candidate. And it seems to be resonating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just noticing the Tennessean was reporting just a short while ago that billionaire, and that's the Nashville newspaper for folks who aren't sure what I'm talking about, but it says the headline was "Billionaire-backed PACs pour $6 million into race," as Behn outraises Van Epps, your opponent. And I mean, this is a district that Donald Trump won by 22 points, according to Punch Bowl back in 2024. And so, I mean, they're freaked out. You have freaked them out.
Yeah, I mean, this was not supposed to be competitive. And in fact, the RNC now calls this a battleground district, which is wild.
Wow.
But it's a testament to, for the past 10 years, I've been a community organizer, social worker, now turned legislator. But I've been part of the movement to restore democratic infrastructure in the state. And that is what's being leveraged right now. I mean, our campaign has knocked tens of thousands of doors. We are talking to voters every day. It's the kind of grassroots muscle that the Republicans just don't have right now. And they are really nervous. They're shaking in their boots.
And what are you hearing from the voters? Are you hearing about the same issues of affordability? Are they talking about the Epstein files? I mean, what are folks saying?
Yeah, our polling early on showed that overwhelmingly people cared about the Epstein files, which, as has kind of transcended the moment. But what I gathered from the interest in that is the fact that Tennessee voters feel there are 2 sets of rules, one that apply to the wealthy and well-connected, and one that applies to the rest of us. And that's what that symbolized. And then affordability. I mean, rent has gone up, utilities have gone up, groceries. We have the highest cost of groceries in the country. It's expensive to live in Tennessee, and the Republican agenda hasn't provided a remedy, hasn't provided a solution. And my opponent has never said what he's actually going to do. Whereas, I have plans and what I would do as, my first 100 days as the next congresswoman from the 7th district.
Yeah, and I will say I was in Nashville earlier this year for a wedding, and I did hear this exact thing. People were talking about the skyrocketing cost of housing, that housing has gotten totally out of control. And your campaign has put together an ad on this affordability issue. Let's play it and talk about it on the other side.
Angry about high grocery prices? Worried about healthcare costs? Feeling burned by tariffs? Then December 2nd is your day to shake up Washington. I'm Aftyn Behn, and in Congress, I'll work for you, not the rich donors or special interests. Together, we can bring balance to Washington by making healthcare more affordable, bringing down the cost of living, and protect workers and small businesses from job-killing tariffs. I'm Aftyn Behn, and I approve this message to shake up Washington.
There you go. And healthcare is a big issue too. People are worried about the Medicaid cuts that are coming and the Trump big beautiful whatever they call that thing, and the Obamacare premiums, which they did not fix as a part of that deal that they cut
Yeah,
a
and
few weeks ago.
my story started as a rural healthcare organizer. I was thrown into the 2017 Affordable Care Act and Medicaid fights during the congressional session, and I organized around the 7th District trying to protect rural hospitals and raising awareness about Medicaid cuts. And it feels like Groundhog Day right now. The big ugly bill, I mean, the Medicaid cuts alone will be devastating to Tennessee's nursing homes, to our public hospitals, to our rural hospitals. And I have also heard from Republicans across the district who rely on these Affordable Care Act subsidies. And I received an email from a Clarksville Republican that said, my family pays $67 a month for health care on the marketplace. If these subsidies are removed, eliminated, I won't be able to afford health insurance. And so it is a real life or death election for so many Tennesseans that rely on TennCare, the Affordable Care Act, and SNAP.
Right. And people outside of Tennessee don't realize Tennessee kind of had almost like an Obamacare type of program. You mentioned TennCare just a few moments ago. That sort of predated Obamacare. And so it's kind of, people think of Tennessee as being this deep red state. I remember covering Tennessee, and this is going to date me tremendously here, when Al Gore was vice president. So, I mean, that's how far back I go. And I was a local reporter in Knoxville back in the day, for folks who are like, why does Jim know so much about Tennessee? But you're absolutely right. There is a part of the constituency out there that cares deeply about these issues of, safety net programs. Is my Social Security going to be there? The rising cost of groceries. And it doesn't matter if you're in New York City and you're talking about Zohran Mamdani, or if you're in Nashville talking about Aftyn Behn. It cuts across party lines, all kinds of lines.
Yeah, and I have a track record in the legislature. Our seminal bill is to end Tennessee's regressive grocery tax by closing corporate loopholes. So corporate accountability and affordability have always been core tenets of my organizing and legislative portfolios, and that's what I've been organizing around the state. So I've built a bipartisan coalition of Tennessee voters who want to see Tennessee's grocery tax ended, and that this race is a continuation of that conversation on affordability, and it's resonating deeply with Tennessee voters.
And if for folks who are just tuning in and wondering, what is Aftyn Behn going for in Washington? What do you want to get done? Could you work across party lines? Do you think it's even worth working across party lines? I mean, we saw people like Marjorie Taylor Greene working with Ro Khanna on the Epstein files. I mean, I know not everybody's a big fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I get that, but what's your style on working across party lines? What issues are you interested in taking to Washington?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I entered the Tennessee legislature, it's probably one of the most tense moments of Tennessee political history following the Tennessee 3 incident. I worked across party lines to pass a bill as a freshman super minority member because I've built relationships. I have Republican colleagues that call me once a week to pray for me. And, I take people as they are. I try to, operate with good faith. And I'm happy to work with people who want to improve the cost of living and make healthcare affordable. And if that's the case, then I welcome them.
Yeah. And what do you think should be done about these ICE raids? Because I've covered this a lot on this show, and some of these videos, I'm sure you see them in your social media feeds. I get them in mine. Our viewers do. They're absolutely appalling. They're deeply troubling. In my view, it's not who we are as a country. When you see little kids getting pepper sprayed and grandmas getting tackled and all this, what's your view on this? What needs to be done about that? How can that get reined in, do you think?
I think most candidates running at this point in history agree that we need comprehensive immigration reform. And I think both parties have kicked the can down the road because they don't want to deal with it. And so I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I will say that I have a Hispanic part of my state house district, and we had a massive, unprecedented, borderline there were major issues with this operation in May. And I actually went out in my district on behalf of my Hispanic constituents who voted for me to monitor ICE's activity, and it blew up. There were calls for my arrest, but I saw my constituents who did not receive due process. And I don't think, call me a small C conservative, but I don't believe a federal government agency that is masked, that is kidnapping lawful citizens, should be running without consequences. So, I have said that it's become a campaign issue, but once again, I don't believe in federal or state government overreach, and that's all I deal with in the Tennessee legislature.
Yeah, no question about it. And I guess I have to ask you a couple of things that stood out to me as I was saying, what's Aftyn Behn all about? And I have to ask you, there were a couple of stories written that said that you didn't like country music or something like that. Now, what's going on with this? How can you win this race? Please tell me that's taken out of context. I don't know.
Yes,
how I was like,
absolutely. It's always the mischaracterization.
What happened?
I was lamenting about the tourist in Nashville, and every Nashvilleian can relate. If you live in a metropolitan tourist destination, you can absolutely relate to that. And in fact, a lot of Nashvilleians have reached out and said, "Oh, I totally understand where she was coming from." So no, I do not hate country music, and I
remember there was a bumper sticker back in the day that was like, "Welcome to Nashville. Now y'all go home," or something like that. I get it. I've heard this before.
Yeah, I mean, you have to engage with tourists. That's part of the industry, and I'm grateful that Nashville is such a place that people want to come visit and bask in all its glory and its country music. But I decided, instead of complaining, I decided to run for office and get involved and change my community for good. So I look at it as a success story.
Got it. And do you have any country music roots that you can speak of?
I once took banjo lessons, but and my first concert at the Ryman actually was in middle school. And when we got there, this Australian guy comes out and he takes his camcorder, because back then there was camcorder, and he turns around. He's like, "Look, Ma, I've made it!" And it turned out to be Keith Urban's first concert at the Ryman ever in the United States. So yeah, that's something that's a very fun memory that I hold.
Interesting, because I read something that, there's a website called Wide Open Country, and I don't know if maybe this is not correct. Then maybe I shouldn't bring this up. And it says something about how you were conceived or how you.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask this, or am I?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I jokingly in another interview, which is true, I was conceived after a George Strait concert. So I don't think that I would.
Is that true, or is that you?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. So,
yeah. Now you could just say that to the folks who are like, what's going on with her and country music?
There's nothing, but this is the thing. They have no plan to make healthcare more affordable, which is why they are hence the onslaught of just stories that they are resurfacing.
They're coming after you.
They're coming after me. And I'd also like to say, like, since being a legislator, I have, I wouldn't say, I represent a very diverse constituency, and I think there's also maturity to that. And so these clips and these, everything that they're resurfacing right now is from a past time. And, and I think all of us have said something that could have been taken out of context. So
that's true. That's very true. But I mean, and you were saying, before we got started, you were saying that JD Vance, is that right? JD Vance is coming to your district to campaign on behalf of your opponent tomorrow?
Yeah, so Trump had a telethon hall for my opponent, and it was very strange hearing Trump say your name. I was hoping he
said your name?
Oh yeah, twice. I was hoping he'd say something like, "She is way less cute than my daughter Ivanka. She's not a real blonde." No,
that's a good Trump.
Thank you. I thought it was going to be funny. It wasn't. But so they brought in the big dogs because Trump can't afford to lose another district. JD Vance is coming to Fort Campbell, which is obviously a base for military families, tomorrow. And so the cavalry is being called in because this race has unforeseen become quite close.
I mean, if they're bringing JD Vance in, that's something else. Ladies and gentlemen, hide your sofas. I'm just kidding. That's just.
Yeah. There's just a lot of, I've been grateful. I've welcomed the support and attention from folks in our race nationally, especially since Tennessee is often a state that's overlooked, right? And we're a southern state that has often been under-resourced. These races don't often receive enough attention. And so I've just been really grateful for the support.
Well, and I mean, and a lot of folks will say that this is what the Democratic Party needs to be doing a lot more of, investing in races like yours, having a 50 state strategy. This used to not be the case. I mean, that's been not the case up until 10 minutes ago or a month ago, I guess you could say. And the fact that your district and your race, your candidacy is getting so much attention right now, I think that it means things are changing pretty dramatically, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree to that. And once again, it speaks to, and I'm just one of many, right? Like I'm the candidate in this moment in time, but I come from this, years, a decade of trying to rebuild democratic fabric in my community, and building the skill sets of young people and those of us that want to take back our state and restore democracy. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead in this moment, but I just want to recognize that it's been a long struggle. And if we do come close, or if we flip it, or when we flip it, it will send a message to the entire country that the South has something to say, and that we can rewrite the Democratic playbook in the South with a progressive candidate who is speaking to the affordability crisis in our country. Yeah.
And it is a crisis right now. Everybody's feeling it. People are getting stocked up for Thanksgiving, and they're finding that their budget doesn't go as far as it used to. Well, Aftyn Behn, thank you so much, State Representative Aftyn Behn. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. Usually I do like a Jim's take at the end. I thought I would just plug the fact that we're going to do a funny thing tomorrow, or try to lighten things up a little bit. But really appreciate State Representative Aftyn Behn of Tennessee for joining me today. Very interesting, folks. You know, how worried is the Republican Party right now when the party is dumping millions of dollars into this race, when their billionaire PAC buddies are dumping millions of dollars into this race, and they're saying in the Vice President of the United States, hide your sofas, move the love seats into somewhere safe, get a panic room for the lazy boy. JD Vance is coming to town. And, when they're pulling out that kind of heavy artillery, it means that the Republican Party is very worried about a special election in Tennessee. It tells you where we are right now as a country. The Democrats have the wind at their backs. We'll see if they can capitalize on it. And as I was talking about this with my team before we got started here, and the point should be made, the margin of victory is going to be very interesting here. Keep in mind, Trump won that district by 22 points in 2024, just a year ago. If that margin is cut in half or by 2/3, let's say she comes up a little short, that is going to speak volumes. If in a place like Tennessee, and yes, it incorporates part of Nashville, but if in a place like Tennessee, that a district that is normally carried by a Republican is almost carried by a Democrat, that is going to be seen as a big win, folks, and it's going to be seen as yet another warning sign for Donald Trump, MAGA, and the Republicans. So I wanted to do this as a starter to the show today. It's a very important race, and I think an important bellwether for things to come. Who knew there was a special election in the first week of December? Our cup runneth over with politics here at the Jim Acosta Show. But I wanted to make sure you guys saw that as well. But in the meantime, keep doing those eating exercises. I've started to do that myself, so you can fit all the turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing. I'm going to my mom's on Thursday. I might try to do some posts, or maybe if my mom might hit me in the head if I try to do a live Substack from over there. But I might do some kind of YouTube Substack thing with mom as she's getting the turkey ready. We'll see. I might get smacked across the head, but we'll see. But I'm enjoying this holiday week. I hope you're enjoying this holiday week. And I think what Keith Edwards was saying earlier is an important thing to keep in mind as well. Let's leave the door open. Let's leave the door open for coming together as Americans. Let's leave the door open for that. I think it's a great message, and it's something we should all think about. I'm not saying that may be that one uncle who's like, no, he's insufferable. There's just no way, Jim, we're not going to do that. But if there's someone who's slightly insufferable, maybe just kind of think about it. It's just a suggestion from me to you. But in the meantime, thanks again for watching. Still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a good evening. I'll see you next time.